this video, I will be explaining my presidential rankings for each of the presidents, from S tier, which is basically God, and F tier, which is trash. So let's get right into today's video. Now, starting with George Washington, I think he's slightly overrated. He did not do too much in his office. That being said, he was a role model for everyone, basically, so he will be in the A tier. Going to Abraham Lincoln, yeah, he's going to be in the S tier because, again, he did very well in the Civil War and everything, so that he will be in the S tier. And yeah, so let's get into the second president, John Adams. John Adams, if we look at the historic rankings for presidents, he's typically speaking still higher on the list, and I do think that's true for him. I think he's about, B tier, in my opinion, average, above average, that kind of ranking. Going to I believe, who is it again? Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, obviously, he is still up in the list because he did very good things. He had a shady personal history sometimes, but again, this is mostly based on their presidency, not their character. Now going to James Madison, he is, at least according to historic rankings, still slightly above average, and I think he's a pretty average guy. Just going to put him in the C tier. If we look at the next president here, James Monroe. Now, James Monroe, some of them rate him as high as a 7, as low as a 18. I think, again, pretty average guy, just like James Madison. James Monroe will also go in that C tier, just under James Madison, I believe. John Quincy Adams, looking at this, he's actually slightly worse than James Monroe, so you can see that the list actually keeps dropping off. I also think he's in the C tier. Again, you're going to see a lot of C tier people. And then we're going to go to the next president, Andrew Jackson. He's often rated pretty high up the list. That being said, I don't think he is doing as well as some historians might like to put it in. Again, just look at this. I think that he's not exactly the best president the United States ever had, of course, but I think he is rated way too high up our lists here. So I would put him in the E tier. I think he wasn't exactly the best president. Going to Martin Van Buren, you can see the ratings continue to drop. I think I'll put him in the maybe D tier. Again, he's also a below average guy in my opinion. Again, not highly educated on some of these presidents, and I'm just basing it on my opinion a lot of the times. William H. Harrison, he didn't do much. He died in office like 30 days in. So for that, I'm putting him in F tier. That does not mean he is one of the worst presidents. If we look at the historical rankings, William H. Harrison, people tend to rate him down, but that's because he barely had any time in office. And then we have John Tyler. John Tyler, not exactly a great president, in my opinion, as well. So if we look at the next president here, it is James K. Polk. He is often rated pretty high up, and I do say that is agreeable. I think Polk did a pretty well job. Not exactly the best, that being said. So yeah, Zachary Taylor, I believe. I think he was a below average guy. I tried to not be too harsh on these presidents, but yeah, I think he's a below average guy. And yeah, so C is probably average. Again, S is God, F is trash as well. Going to the next president, which is Millard Fillmore, I believe the 13th president. I think according to these historic rankings, he also wasn't a great president. I don't think he's a good president either. He's going to go in the F tier, probably in the upper part of the F tier, but he's still not exactly the best president the United States has ever had. And then we have Franklin Pierce also wasn't a great president. You can see just these rankings here. I think also goes in the F tier as well. Now if we go to the next president, I believe it's the 15th president, James Buchanan. Oh my gosh, he's gay, and that is a big issue to me. And also, he really wasn't a great president in my opinion. And yeah, so he is also going in the F tier trash. Again, you can see right now I definitely have more F tier presidents than all the other tiers, which again tells something about the first, especially the presidents in the 12th to the 15th, not exactly the best. The 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, S tier, I explained that. Andrew Johnson, yeah, he's kind of shady. I scratch that, he's actually pretty shady of a president. I don't necessarily like him as well. Yeah, he's also going in that F tier. He also has some kind of not something too bright of him, in my opinion. Now if we look at the next few presidents, Ulysses S. Grant, I think he's average. The economy was doing well, but he wasn't exactly the best character. I put him in the front of D tier. Going to Rutherford B. Hayes. Hayes is a average guy. Again, you can see these historic rankings. I base a lot of that on these historic rankings. I put him in about C tier. By this point, I'll explain something. It's that I have a lot of respect for these presidents. That being said, if they aren't exactly the best presidents, then I do put them below. That being said, I do have respect to basically all of the presidents, because being president is also a very hard job. Now if we look at James A. Garfield, I believe that's who's up next. James Garfield, according to historic rankings, he is about, medium, below average, and that is generally speaking how I put him. He's probably around the D tier area as well. Right now, a lot of presidents are in C/D tier, and a lot of them are in F tier. So, yeah. Now we look at the next few presidents here. James A. Garfield, Chester A. Offer is the next president. Also, medium to bad, I think. At this point, he is about D tier. That is basically how I would rank a lot of these presidents in this period. Going to Grover Cleveland, about, he won his first term, and then he lost re-election to Benjamin Harrison, and then won another term against Benjamin Harrison. Very interesting president. It's never happened. Maybe Donald Trump will do that again. We don't know, but as of right now, he is the only president to do so. Yeah, that talk about Donald Trump is a little bit off topic, but he is also about C tier, in my opinion, as well. Going to the next presidents, Benjamin Harrison, also about the same tier. I think a little bit worse, probably about D tier. I'll put him somewhere in the middle, in my opinion. Again, you can see a lot of these numbers are based on their ratings. That being said, I do have my personal opinions. William McKinley, I think he's also about C tier as well. Probably the upper portions of C tier, in my opinion. Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, very high ranked in most historians, and in my opinion, similar thing. I do put him up in A tier. I do think he is a great president overall. He did do pretty well in office. We have Taft here. Taft is a Republican. I think he's also in about medium C tier as well. Now if you look at the next president, Woodrow Wilson is ranked very high up, but I really can't disagree more. Woodrow Wilson, a very bad character, limited speech, basically pushed himself into World War I. I mean, he was like this, all right. He was like, I'm going to get you guys out of World War I, and that's how he won re-election. But guess what he does? The first thing after he wins re-election, he gets the world in World War I, and that's a pretty bad thing. I mean, the United States, not the world, but he's also going in that trash tier. I don't like him. Very bad character, very bad person. Warren Harding is also not exactly the best president. He once said this: "I shall never be in president." It's not the exact quote again, but he said, I should have never become in president," and basically acknowledging that he's not a good president. Well, I 100% agree. He should have never become president. I'm actually using the E tier a little bit less, so I should use that, and that's what I'm going to do with Calvin Coolidge. Coolidge really doesn't have much name recognition. I would put him in about E tier as well. Going to Herbert Hoover, if we look at it, he is, pretty bad. I think he's also going in that trash tier. I don't like him. I don't think any of you really like him. Franklin D. Roosevelt didn't do too well, but at least he tried to do something. I mean, Herbert Hoover did try to do something, but he still handled it pretty trash. And what he did was really not someone who considered everyone. And so the next president, I believe, is Franklin D. Roosevelt. I think he could have done something better. He could have done something worse. I put him in C tier. Harry S. Truman, most historians actually rate him pretty high. I think he's a above average guy, but I don't understand a lot of what he thinks sometimes. So again, this is going to be a little bit biased against him. He's going to be in C tier. Actually, you know what? He's going to be in B tier, I guess. Just to even out numbers. Dwight D. Eisenhower, I think a pretty decent president after all. He's not exactly the best or the worst president. Most people have him ranked pretty high. And I do agree mostly. I think maybe B, maybe A. I give him B because A is still very difficult to get into as well. So if we go to John F. Kennedy, he is overrated. Assassinated presidents typically are overrated, and that's what I think of. That being said, I do appreciate what many historians believe. I do put him B because that's a lot of people do believe that, and I think that's also kind of fair in my opinion. Actually, you know what? I do move Roosevelt up to B tier because that's where most historians put him. I don't necessarily agree, but I'm just going to put him there. Alright. Lyndon B. Johnson. Also kind of shady character. I'm not sure if I could put him in E or F tier. He really isn't a great president in my opinion. So I'll put him in F tier, I think. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put him up in E tier. So, Lyndon B. Johnson, I mean, he definitely wasn't a good character, nor was he actually a good president. So, F tier. I think you guys probably understand. Richard Nixon, I mean, he did do some good things, and that makes him underrated because, Watergate pretty much pumped him to a very negative position. That being said, he's still not a good president whatsoever. He was a very selfish character, but, he did do some good things, but he was a very selfish character, and although I do consider the presidency most in this video, I do not like him because of his character. Now, going to Gerald Ford, about the same rating as Nixon, a little bit higher. I do think that also puts him in about the, D tier, in my opinion. Yeah. Not much to say. Now we go to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was a Southerner. Again, looking at the ratings, he's a little bit better than Gerald Ford, but really he's a pretty good character, but I mean, he's a pretty good person. He did very much a lot of good things. That being said, in his presidency, the economy was suffering. Everything was suffering. Not exactly the best. Reagan, I have very mixed feelings about Reagan. I mean, people overrate him. People voted for him because he was that movie star. But really, I don't think he did a very good job as president. You can debate with me, but yeah, I think some of these, they put him at 6, they put him at 8. I think he's getting overrated in a lot of these scenarios. George H.W. Bush, a very medium person. You can see the second and third quadrant. By the way, these are the colors, basically, of the quartiles and how you would rate them. Yeah, so I think he's pretty much in the medium tier as well. Going to Bill Clinton, what he did was generally pretty good. Generally slightly above average. That means that his character definitely goes into the F tier. He got impeached. Really doesn't give him a lot of credibility. And I read his My Life book, 2,000 pages, and that still does not make me feel any better for him. He is still in the D tier. Now going to George W. Bush. He's a very nice guy, but he wasn't a very nice president. Really, I don't like him a lot, to be honest. And I don't think anyone likes him that much. Bush would go somewhere in the F tier. I'm not going to rate Trump or Biden. I think that might be personal, and that really things could still change in both of them. Obama, he did leave office for a couple of years. He's in about E tier in my opinion, because really, I mean, he had a lot of potential to do things. He did not do too much things. He passed Obamacare. He did a couple of good things, but really his presidency was not that smooth. So yeah, not that smooth, but he didn't get much done actually, and really he made a average to poor president. If you look at the Barack Obama ratings, actually speaking, Barack Obama, he was rated decently high. That being said, I think that is a overestimation. So most of these I actually agree, but a few of these I definitely don't agree. For example, Woodrow Wilson. Yeah, this rating is crap, honestly. Roosevelt as well. A lot of the ratings. Obama as well. So a few of these Democratic presidents, they are overrated. And yeah, so that finishes up. To conclude, I did not do Trump or Biden, but I did do a lot of these other presidents. So yeah, this is basically my estimate. Lincoln is up in S tier. I probably should put George Washington just because he's viewed that way. So yeah, S tier for Lincoln and George Washington. And a lot of these, Andrew Johnson, Herbert Hoover, Lyndon B. Johnson, a lot of these presidents, they are in F tier as well. And I also shouldn't put him there because he only got 30 days in office. So yeah, this ends this video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are new, and yeah, see you guys later. Bye.